In this video, we'll be taking a look at 3 NBA games happening on April 2nd, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 6 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 3 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Cleveland Cavaliers versus Golden State Warriors. There's something poetic about a team that refuses to quit even when the universe keeps throwing haymakers at it. And that's exactly what we're looking at with the Golden State Warriors heading into this Thursday night clash with the Cleveland Cavaliers at Chase Center. The Warriors sit at 36-40 on the season, clinging to the 10th seed in the Western Conference and desperately trying to keep their play-in hopes alive. Cleveland, meanwhile, rolls in at 47-29, fourth in the East and carrying the kind of roster depth that makes them a legitimate title contender. On paper, this looks like a mismatch, and honestly, you'd be forgiven for thinking the Cavaliers just stroll into San Francisco and handle business. But here's the thing: the Warriors already proved once this season that the paper doesn't always tell the full story. Back on December 6th in Cleveland, a Golden State team missing Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, and Al Horford walked into what was then called Rocket Arena and came out with a 99-94 victory. Pat Spencer, a guy most casual fans couldn't pick out of a lineup, dropped a career-high 19 points with 7 assists in his first career NBA start, and Gawi Santos chipped in 14 of his own. That game was supposed to be a layup for a Cavaliers squad that had Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland all available. Instead, the Warriors outworked them, outfought them, and flat-out embarrassed a team that was favored by nearly double digits. Now fast forward to tonight, and while the Warriors are still without Curry, who's missed over 25 straight games with that nagging runner's knee, and Butler, who's been done since tearing his ACL back on January 19th, they actually might be in a slightly better position than that December game. Kristaps Porzingis, who was acquired from the Atlanta Hawks at the trade deadline in exchange for Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield, sat out last night's loss to San Antonio specifically so he could play in this game. In his 10 appearances with Golden State, the 7'3" Latvian has averaged 17.1 points while flashing the kind of rim protection and floor spacing the Warriors haven't had in years. Draymond Green anchors things defensively, and Santos has genuinely broken out this season, averaging 15.5 points on nearly 52% shooting while drawing 24 starts in his last 28 games. Spencer, the hero of that December upset, remains a crafty playmaker who's already shown he can rise to the occasion in this exact matchup. And then there's the Cleveland side of things, which isn't as clean as you might assume. The Cavaliers just got absolutely demolished by the Lakers on Tuesday night, losing 127-113 in a game that was 110-83 heading into the fourth quarter. That's the kind of loss that lingers, especially on the road. James Harden, who was acquired from the Clippers for Garland back in February, has been phenomenal in spurts, averaging 20.4 points and 8.3 assists across 21 games in a Cleveland uniform. But he also dealt with a thumb fracture that cost him some time, and this is a 36-year-old guard playing his 6th NBA team who doesn't always lock in during late-season road games that don't carry massive playoff implications for his squad. Mitchell is a monster, no question. He's putting up 27.7 points per game and drilling 3.2 threes a night. Mobley and Jarrett Allen form one of the best front-court duos in the league. But the Cavaliers have been absolutely brutal against the spread recently, going just 2-8 across their last 10 games. That's not a fluke, that's a pattern of a team that wins games but doesn't blow people out the way the line expects them to. Cleveland's head coach Kenny Atkinson spent 3 years as an assistant on Steve Kerr's staff in Golden State, which means the Warriors know his tendencies, his sets, his timeout patterns. There's a familiarity advantage here that shouldn't be ignored. The Warriors play with a desperate energy right now because every single game matters for their play and positioning, while Cleveland is relatively secure as a top 4 seed. When you combine the motivation gap, the historical precedent of that December meeting, the Cavaliers' tendency to play down to competition on the road, and the fact that Porzingis was specifically rested to be available tonight, you start to see a picture that looks a lot friendlier for the home team than the odds makers suggest. As our first pick for this matchup, the Golden State Warriors to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Cavaliers have been one of the more explosive offensive teams in the league over the past few weeks, averaging 123 points across their last 10 games, and even in that blowout loss to the Lakers, they still managed to put up 113. Mitchell is a bucket getter who can score 30 on any given night, and Harden's ability to create shots for himself and others means Cleveland's offensive floor is incredibly high. Mobley has developed a reliable mid-range game, Allen finishes everything at the rim, and Max Strus or Sam Merrill, who's expected back in the starting lineup after resting his hamstring, can catch fire from deep at any moment. This is a team that has legitimate scoring threats at every position. On the other side, Golden State ranks second in the entire NBA in three-pointers made per game at 15.9. That's not a typo, second in the league. Even without Curry, these Warriors launch threes at an elite volume and they connect at a 35.7% clip. The issue, of course, is that their defense has been atrocious without their full complement of players. They allow 115.1 points per game, which is a number that essentially guarantees the opponent is going to score. When Porzingis plays, he adds another layer of offensive firepower with his shooting ability from beyond the arc and his mid-range touch, but his defensive presence at the rim hasn't been enough to compensate for the absences of Curry, Butler, and Horford. What you end up with is a game environment where both teams can score, and neither team has the defensive teeth to consistently get stops. The historical trends back this up too. When these two franchises have met over recent seasons, the total has gone over about 2/3 of the time. The Warriors themselves have hit the over in 60% of their games this season, which makes sense when you think about it, because a team that can't stop anyone but also makes the second most threes in the league is basically a recipe for high-scoring affairs. Cleveland's defense hasn't been bad this year, ranking a respectable 15th in points allowed at 115.3 per game, but without the defensive anchor of Garland being replaced by the offense-first mentality of Harden, they've traded some of that defensive identity for pure firepower. Here's what's different from that low-scoring December meeting too. That game featured Garland instead of Harden, and Porzingis wasn't on the Warriors roster yet. The addition of those two players alone, one on each side, completely changes the scoring dynamics of this matchup. Harden's pick-and-roll gravity with Allen and Mobley generates easy baskets, and Porzingis, stretching the floor for Golden State, opens up driving lanes that didn't exist 4 months ago. When you stack all of that together, two offenses with legitimate scoring punch, a Warriors defense that leaks points like a sieve, and the pace that Golden State tends to play when they're trying to stay in games against superior opponents, the scoring environment here feels ripe for both teams to pour it in. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. New Orleans Pelicans versus Portland Trail Blazers. There's something about the way Portland has been playing in the last couple of weeks that just screams team on a mission. You look at a squad sitting at 39-38, and on paper, sure, that's not a world beater. But context is everything in the NBA, and the Blazers are riding a wave of momentum that the New Orleans Pelicans simply cannot match right now. Portland has won 4 of their last 5 games, and it hasn't been fluky or lucky. These have been convincing, dominant performances. They obliterated Milwaukee 130-99 at home. They steamrolled Brooklyn 134-99. They just walked into the Clippers building and took a 114-104 victory with the kind of composure you'd expect from a team peaking at the right time. And the guy leading this charge, Deni Avdija, is playing like a man possessed. He's averaging 23.9 points, 7 rebounds, and 6.7 assists per game this season, good enough for 15th in the entire league in scoring. In that last Clippers game alone, he dropped 28 points, 11 boards, and 8 assists. That's not a stat line, that's a full recital. He does everything for this team. And honestly, it's not just of DJ either. Jrue Holiday, the savvy veteran point guard who's been through every playoff war imaginable, just went off for 30 points against the Clippers. The Blazers have also been running a smaller, quicker lineup with Scoot Henderson alongside Holiday in the backcourt since Jeremy Grant went down with a calf injury, and the results have been spectacular. 2 straight convincing wins. Now flip the page to the Pelicans. New Orleans sits at 25-51. That is not a misprint. This is a team that fired head coach Willie Green after a 2-10 start to the season and has been running on fumes under interim coach James Borrego ever since. The Pelicans are coming in having lost 5 consecutive games, and these haven't been heartbreakers, they've been collapses. Houston obliterated them 134-102 at home. Toronto handled them 119-106 on the road. Detroit pounded them 129-108. There's a pattern here, and it's not a pretty one. Making matters worse, Trey Murphy III, their co-leading scorer at 21.7 points per game, is listed as day-to-day with an ankle issue and has already missed recent games. DeJounte Murray, who only returned from Achilles surgery back in late February, is still on a minutes management plan. So even when the Pelicans' key players are technically available, they're operating at less than full capacity. Here's the thing that really tips the scale, though. Portland as favorites this season carries a 25-9 straight-up record. That's not just good, it's elite. When the Blazers are expected to win, they almost always do, and they don't just squeak by. Look at what they've done to teams at home recently. Washington came in and got run out of the building 123-88. Milwaukee, a team with serious talent, got dusted by 31. This is a Blazers team that ranks 6th in the entire league in rebounds per game at 46.1 and has been the best offensive rebounding unit over the last 25 games. They generate second chance points. They control tempo at home, where they've been the 4th fastest paced team in the league over the last 20 games, and they wear opponents down. New Orleans is the polar opposite. Opponents are scoring 119.5 points per game against the Pelicans this season, which ranks as the 5th worst mark in the entire NBA. They just cannot stop anybody, and they're walking into a building where the home team has been lighting up the scoreboard while also defending well enough to cover with regularity. The last time these two met, Portland won 122-109, a 13-point margin, and this time they have the benefit of being at home. Everything about this matchup screams an outcome where the better team flexes its muscles against a squad that has simply given up on the season. As our first pick for this matchup, the Portland Trail Blazers to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Portland's recent scoring outputs might make you think this game is destined to be a shootout, but there's a very interesting undercurrent working against that assumption. The Blazers have gone under the projected total in 3 consecutive games now. 3 straight. That's not a coincidence, that's a trend. And when you look at why, it starts to make perfect sense. Despite their ability to put up points in bunches, Portland is statistically the 3rd least efficient three-point shooting team in the entire league this season, sitting dead last at 30th in the conference at 34% from beyond the arc. They win through physicality, offensive rebounding, free throw trips, and mid-range play, not through high-volume three-point barrages that inflate scoring. Their offense, while effective, is methodical in nature when you strip away the blowouts. On the other side, the Pelicans are coming in as the 6th slowest paced road team in the league over their last 5 away games. That's a massive indicator. New Orleans doesn't push the tempo when they travel. They play conservatively, especially with Murray's minutes being managed and Murphy's availability being questionable. On top of that, the Pelicans rank as the 3rd least aggressive team from beyond the three-point line over the last 10 games. So you've got a visiting team that plays slow on the road and doesn't shoot threes against a home team that can't shoot threes efficiently. That's not exactly a recipe for a fireworks show. Look at what the Pelicans have been scoring lately too. In their loss to Houston, they managed just 102 points. Against Toronto, 106. Against Detroit, 108. These are outputs from a team that has clearly lost its offensive identity. Zion Williamson at 21.3 points per game is still a force, but he can't carry the load alone when Murphy might be limited and Murray is being carefully rationed. The supporting cast isn't generating enough, and the Pelicans' overall energy levels on this 5-game skid suggest a team just trying to get through the remaining schedule in one piece rather than pushing for every last bucket. With Portland likely building a lead early and managing the clock in the second half, and with New Orleans not possessing the firepower or the pace to keep the scoreboard moving, the math simply doesn't support a high-scoring affair here. Both teams have reasons to keep this one grounded, whether that's Portland protecting a lead or New Orleans simply not having enough juice to inflate the final tally. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. San Antonio Spurs versus Los Angeles Clippers. There's something about a team that just refuses to lose, and right now, the San Antonio Spurs are that team. You can throw any challenge at them, any road trip, any back-to-back, and they just keep finding ways to grind out victories. Sitting at 58-18 on the season, the Spurs hold the second-best record in the entire Western Conference, and they're riding a 10-game winning streak heading into tonight's game at Intuit Dome. To put that in perspective, they've won 17 of their last 19 games. That's not a hot streak. That's a team operating on a completely different frequency than just about everyone else in the league. And then you look across the court at the Clippers, sitting at 39-37, clinging to the 8th seed in the West and fighting just to stay in play-in position. The talent gap here is real, and the momentum gap might be even bigger. Let's talk about what makes this matchup so lopsided in terms of recent form. Victor Wembanyama just walked into Chase Center last night and dropped 41 points on 16 of 22 shooting with 18 rebounds and 3 blocks against the Warriors. The man shot over 72% from the field. Over his last 5 games, Wembanyama has been averaging 33 points, better than 11 rebounds, and nearly 4 blocks a night. He's not just good right now, he's arguably the most dominant force in basketball. And the scary part for opponents is that he's not doing it alone. Stephen Castle has been a revelation this season, putting up around 16.5 points with over 7 assists per game as a legitimate secondary creator. De'Aaron Fox, the mid-season acquisition from Sacramento, brings that veteran steadiness with nearly 19 points and over 6 assists on the year. This roster has depth, it has star power, and it has guys who understand their roles. Now, here's the thing about the Clippers tonight. They're not just a lesser team on paper, they're actively dealing with significant absences that thin out their rotation even further. Darius Garland has been ruled out for this game due to a left toe injury, and that's a massive blow. Garland had been averaging almost 23 points over his last 10 games, giving the Clippers a second high-usage scorer alongside Kawhi Leonard. Without him, the offensive creation burden falls almost entirely on Leonard's shoulders. Bradley Beal is already done for the season after hip surgery, and Giannis Niederhauser is out for the year with a Lisfranc injury. That's a lot of missing production for a team that's already inconsistent. And honestly, the head-to-head tells you everything you need to know. The Spurs have already beaten the Clippers twice this season, including a 119-115 win at this very same building back on March 16th. In both meetings, San Antonio found ways to pull ahead in crunch time and close the door. That's not a coincidence. The Spurs rank 5th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating, and 2nd in net rating at plus 8.2 this year. They're a legitimate contender. Meanwhile, the Clippers just lost at home to the Portland Trail Blazers in their most recent outing, and they've gone 3-7 against the spread over their last 10 games. The Spurs, on the other hand, have covered in 6 consecutive contests and 8 of their last 10. When one team is covering at that rate and the other is bleeding against the number, you have to pay attention. The Clippers, even with Kawhi likely suiting up, are going to have a very difficult time keeping pace with a San Antonio team playing this well, this deep into the season. As our first pick for this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. When you look at the defensive profile of the San Antonio Spurs this season, it's easy to see why points can dry up against them. They rank 7th in the NBA in points allowed per game, giving up just 111.3 on average. Their defensive rating sits at 111.2, which is 3rd best in the entire league. And at the center of that defensive identity stands Wembanyama, who leads the NBA in blocks at 3.1 per game. When opposing offenses try to attack the rim, they have to account for a 7'4" presence who alters and erases shots at an elite rate. That alone suppresses easy baskets and forces teams into tougher, lower percentage looks. Now layer in what the Clippers are dealing with offensively tonight. Losing Garland doesn't just remove a scorer, it removes a playmaker who opens up the floor for everyone else. Without him, the Clippers' half-court offense becomes more predictable, and they'll lean even harder on Leonard, who's been managing a lingering ankle issue for weeks now. He played 36 minutes in that Portland loss and only scored 23 points on 7 of 15 shooting. Kawhi is still Kawhi, but when he has to shoulder the entire creative burden without Garland, the efficiency tends to dip, and the possessions slow down. The Clippers rank just 23rd in points per game at 113.9 this season, and that number figures to take a hit tonight without their second-best offensive initiator. The two previous meetings between these squads are telling as well. The first game on March 6th finished 116 to 112, which comes out to a combined 228 points. The second meeting on March 16th ended 119 to 115, combining for 234. Both games came in right around that 231 mark on average, and that was with the Clippers closer to full strength than they are tonight. Remove Garland from the equation and pair that with the Spurs' suffocating defense, and you've got a recipe for a lower scoring contest. San Antonio also controls the glass at an absurd level, ranking second in the NBA with 47 rebounds per game, while the Clippers sit 29th at just 40.6. Fewer offensive rebounds for Los Angeles means fewer second chance points, and that matters in a game where every extra possession counts toward the total. There's also the tempo factor to consider. The Spurs have the ability to slow things down and grind out half-court possessions when they want to, especially with a lead. And given how frequently they've built double-digit advantages during this streak, garbage time doesn't always inflate the score the way you'd expect. It actually compresses it. When the Spurs get comfortable with a cushion, they pull back, sub in their bench guys, and let the clock run. That's the kind of game flow that tends to keep the final number lower than people anticipate. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.